Hello, we are Minor League Analytics, and we specialize in making you a better you. We've been hired by the Memphis Grizzlies to evaluate past and present statistical data for the development of a strategy to help them in future seasons. With an increase in winning percentage, the Memphis Grizzlies will be provided with an opportunity to move toward regular playoff appearances and an increased possibility to win championships. The team's management has determined that coming into the next to last place is a problem for their finances, and they hired us to improve their less than stellar record. We've compiled data sets from both collegiate and professional leagues for our analysis. We performed our analysis using SAS Miner's various analytical methods to arrive at our recommendation. The key statistics that are derived from the data analysts will provide the team with an adequate overview of changes that need to be implemented and a focused target for future team development. We will delve deeply into team and player statistics to isolate key player attributes to identify predictor variables. This will allow us to compare our target team with the rest of the league to generate recommendations. First, we must evaluate the current standings based on the data presented directly from the league. The NBA Basketball Association is comprised of 30 professional basketball teams. The 30 teams are broken into two different main divisions known as conferences. These conferences are known as the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference, and they both have 15 different individual teams. Our employees want us to evaluate the Memphis Grizzlies, which are part of the Western Conference. The Memphis Grizzlies are currently ranked 14th out of 15 Western Conference teams. As of April the 8th, 2018, they are ranked 29th overall out of 30 teams, with a record of 22 wins and 58 losses, which is only a winning percentage of .275. In comparison, the first place team in the Western Conference is the Houston Rockets. The Rockets have 64 wins and 16 losses, which is a winning percentage of .800 as of the same date. The Memphis Grizzlies are currently 42 games behind the Houston Rockets. Second, we took the individual player and team stats and evaluated which statistics needed to be targeted to enhance the team. The data set included the number of games played for the current season and the number of wins and losses each team had in the league. This provided us with winning percentage per team. We looked at the total points scored on average per game. We also took into consideration field goal percentages, which included 2-pointers, 3-pointers, and free throws. We also calculated in many other statistics, such as the number of rebounds, both offensively and defensively. Also took into consideration assists, turnovers, steals, blocks, even personal fouls. Once again, we chose to compare against the Houston Rockets and a few other top-level NBA teams so that we knew our numbers were on track. This just shows a little bit of their stats. The last piece of data considered the salaries per player and the overall salary cap for each team. The Memphis Grizzlies have 14 players on their roster. The combined salaries for the team is roughly $110 million. The Grizzlies have roughly $291 million of guaranteed contracts that extend into the 2020-21 season. In comparison, the Rockets team combined salary is roughly $119 million. The Rockets have guaranteed contracts of about $367.5 million that extends into the 2022 and 23 seasons. The Grizzlies franchise is projected by Forbes to be worth a total of $0.45 billion. The Rockets franchise is projected to be worth a total of $0.78 billion, so considerably more. Finding data to begin our project was one of the most difficult and time-consuming aspects of the assignment. Collectively, we found a trove of data across half a dozen websites. However, most of that data was very disorganized. Initially, we wanted to research and analyze real estate markets, but we quickly found most of the data pulled was semi-structured or completely unstructured. Instead of using a data dump from one of the warehouse websites, we found that basketball data pulled directly from the NBA and NCAA websites was the way to go. It isn't to say we didn't have to format the data, but it made the project much easier and interesting in the long run. After deciding to use the basketball data, we compiled 3 data sets for our research. One on the NBA team statistics from 96 to 17, the second on the NBA individual statistics from 96 to 17, and then the third was on the NCAA for the 2017-2018 season. We took these 3 data sets, organized them into to Excel to standardize their formats, so we would be able to more easily discern their outputs. For all three data sets, we copied and pasted tables into Microsoft Excel, which allowed the group to manipulate and organize various data fields such as games played, wins, losses, winning percentage, points scored, shooting percentages, rebound statistics, as well as like ball handling statistics. We use Microsoft Excel to clean this data by adding every year's results into a spreadsheet, converting the resulting file into a CSV file, like a flat file. We deleted and amended headers, standardized them across the data sets. We deleted unnecessary columns. We removed hyperlinks, converted single columns of the first and last name into two separate columns, and also did basically the same with the full team names into three-letter abbreviations to just make it easier on us. In SAS Miner, we used the import node to convert the flat file, the CSV file, to a workable SAS file. This process worked pretty well. There were some data fields which required us to change the column name to adhere to SAS naming conventions. For example, we had to insert an underscore before any columns beginning with numerical values. After these minor corrections, we easily imported our data. We ensured that our data was correctly imported using the results and the edit variable attributes in SAS. We noted that all columns and observations were imported correctly and began mining our data. That brings us to modeling. As our goal was to turn the ailing Grizzlies into perennial winners for years to come, we had to throw out what was already being done. Knowing this, we went back to scratch and formed the first of our two models used to look for causations towards win percentage over the measurable statistics of the NBA's teams over the past 21 years. Certain axioms were obvious, such as the team with the best points, for compared to their points against would win the most games, and the team with the most wins will have the most won, or would have won the most games. The first steps we took was to take our team data, and partition it into an equal mix of training and validation data. From there, we ran three models, seeking to overlap in how each statistical category impacts our true goal, which was winning percentage. The models we opted to use were a maximal decision tree, a neural network, and a stepwise regression model. While the neural network and the stepwise model provide long and deep looks at how different factors impacted the target variables, their results were a bit stretched out, if you will. The decision tree was kind enough to provide a very straightforward set of three criteria: field goal percentage, rebounds, and three-point shooting. When compared to our other models, this matched the primary statistic on each of the others and followed very closely to the rest of the options, forming a bit of consensus amongst the models. While this method may not have stuck with the pure selection by the model comparison, it helped provide a set of viewpoints that allowed a more straightforward goal, identifying the type of player needed to elevate the Grizzlies on the score sheet. This flexibility helped approach a situation like the draft, where players may or may not be present for your selection, and also for the advancement through free agency with the same goal setting. After achieving our first goal, we moved on to the NCAA data for those active players that would have the opportunity to leave college and join the ranks of the pros. Once again, we took to importing and segmenting our data and moved toward player identification. We once again produced our three models: the stepwise, the neural, and the decision tree. When reviewing the model fits on this data set, the decision tree model moved as the best option with its lowest average squared error. We moved to exporting the projected data, focusing on our key statistic, which was shooting percentage. Using a save data node, we moved our data into Excel, lined it up, and sorted out our data, focusing on projected field goal percentage, followed by rebounding and three-point shooting. This data shows a selection of 14 players. The model helps in multiple ways. Let's see. The model helps in multiple ways. First, we identified the following players for scouting, where the cost... I messed up on the slide there. First, we identified the following players that you can see on the screen now for scouting, where cost for scouting can become a limiting factor when trying to identify talent. Being able to identify key players to fit the needs of the team can limit those costs and focus on the skills and personalities that these potential stars can bring to the team. These models also help move away from the concept of gut instinct, player choice, by focusing selections made by tangible performance data. While a scout may think that a guy who generates steals could be a major playmaker, The model shows that these skills are not as valuable to the efforts of winning as many may believe. These models can also be used to determine where current talent can go if they have room for further growth or if they have hit a plateau. These models help provide a roadmap to sustainable information as time passes and will lead to the victory and fiscal support of the team that desperately needs it. The Memphis Grizzlies desperately need improvement in their roster due to not having winning seasons in recent years. Fortunately, we now have results from our evaluation of the 2 data sets to make recommendations to the Grizzlies management team. Our goal of these results is to provide the management team in identifying new players from the NCAA by comparing that data to historical NBA data. We kept in mind that scouting takes money and time, and we wanted to simplify the data to a point where it can make recommendations that are easy to understand while being an effective tool that can be used in the future also. A scout should have the data already in hand before going to visit a prospective new player. With this in mind, the results of the NBA data led us to the 5 types of statistics that we should focus our efforts on: offensive rebounds, field goals, 3 points made, and field goal percentage. Sorry, trying to get to the slide here. Okay. After scrubbing the data with the key attributes, we zeroed in on 14 players in the NCAA who best resembled the winning players in the NBA data set, and those players are listed on the screen as you can see. While data mining these individuals is described, earlier in the paper, we must discuss ways in which we can improve the process going forward. Since the Grizzlies are wanting to pick up players as soon as it's viably possible, it would have been beneficial to know the player's year in school. Some of the players mentioned above are at different levels in their college careers, which can impact the NBA eligibility. We would need to correlate the information according to NBA draft rules to make recruiting more effective. Management would not need to waste time in sending scouts to approach an individual for potential signing if they're not eligible for the NBA, of course. While our data is not perfect, it does provide an immediate viable tool for the Grizzlies to use in modeling yearly data for scouting needs, for next season. If followed, then the Grizzlies should see improvement in their records, which in turn will affect their bottom line. However, we also recommend expanding the data to include other items such as time in school and injuries to make the data evaluation more successful. Upon finalizing the results of our finding, we will deploy our model into a production environment as a relational solution. We will then advise the clients to partake in our offered training session, which will provide them with necessary tools to continue using our model in the future. The client will then be able to create predictions and make better informed business decisions based on statistical analysis rather than, less reliable means, like I mentioned above. As this deployment is for the customer, we will offer the option to retain our services should the need arise. As the dynamic of the team is ever-changing, team being Memphis Grizzlies, is ever-changing, we feel it is necessary to allow for continued support for the client for an agreed-upon term. After this term, if the need arises, we'll be available for reworking of the data for a lesser fee. The main issue we foresee arising will be if any major shift occurs for the team to be successful. While the client now, has the means to manipulate the data however they see fit, it might prove to be a bit complicated. We have centered our data around specific targets based on what is working currently in the league and what the Memphis Grizzlies are currently lacking. This could change over the course of the season for many different reasons, injuries, trades, contractual agreements, etc. Many times we, had to warn clients of ethical issues, but the data we use for this specific case is available to the public through the NBA and NCAA. However, we did keep, the focus on our data on a collegiate level, players that are soon will be eligible to play in the professional league and current NBA players. We hope that our data is not used for any untimely maneuvers that would jeopardize a player getting his collegiate education or reaching a maturity level, that it takes to play at this next level. Other than those risks mentioned above, we would, there are a few more that we'd like to bring to attention. As you're probably aware, the NBA is in constant state of change. This also means the NBA is changing rapidly as the players must be kept current for accurate analysis queries to work properly. While our data is specifically set up to help identify these shifts, That means target changes can be detrimental to the project's accuracy. For this reason, we'd like to set up a yearly offer to rework the data for each upcoming year for the Memphis